Many of the things we spend our lives chasing quietly lose its value. Money inflates, reputation can collapse overnight. Skills we spent years building today are just software features. But there's one thing that doesn't behave this way. It doesn't inflate, it doesn't lose its value when fashions change. It doesn't become obsolete when there's a technological shift. This thing is truth. And I want to make the case that truth is the thing most worth pursuing. So, what is truth? When I say truth, I don't mean the opposite of a lie. I don't mean how you feel about something. I don't mean your experience about a situation. Truth is the accurate understanding of reality. Truth is the accurate understanding of reality. And when I say reality, I mean what exists or what remains true, whether or not we approve of it. For example, gravity worked before Isaac Newton discovered it. Bacteria killed so many people before it was first linked to diseases. The earth revolved around the sun, even when entire civilizations believed it was the opposite. The reality in itself didn't change. What changed was our understanding of it. And that only happened because people were bold enough to pursue truth. So, I'm aware our understanding is always partial, but the pursuit of truth does not require perfection. The pursuit of truth is not a single leap from ignorance to understanding. It's a series of small progressive steps, all compounded. John Dalton's atomic model wasn't a failure. It was a step forward to what we know about the atom today. So, what does this look like in practice? When Elon Musk decided to build rockets, he did something most people do not do. He refused to accept the conventional wisdom that rockets were expensive. That is what the experts say. I mean, if you know the aerospace industry, it was a norm. Everyone knows that it's very expensive to build rockets. But he asked the question, instead of asking what or how to make rockets cheaper, how to reduce the cost of rockets, he asked a more important question. What are rockets made of? And what should they cost? So basically, he's asking, what are the raw materials that I can use to build a rocket? And what do those raw materials cost? When he did his calculation, he found out that for 2% of the market value of a rocket, he could build one. Just 2%. That means that the other 98% of the cost was just assumption, convention, the accumulated weight of, that's just how it's done, just how we do it. I mean, that's what we've known. You see, that single pursuit became SpaceX. SpaceX gave us reusable rockets. And today, reusable rockets is changing what we think is possible in space. It's giving us an opportunity to unlock even more truth. The pursuit of truth requires being bold enough to challenge status quo. If I were to ask you what separates rich nations or wealthy nations from poorer ones, we'll hear the usual, oh, it's colonization, or the wealthy nations have entered into industrialization, which of course is true. But one thing that is overlooked is the pursuit of truth. The wealthy nations invest in the pursuit of truth. They invest in research, they invest in scientific discovery. In 1947, Bell Labs in the United States conducted a research to find out how electrons behave in solid objects. There wasn't a clear commercial purpose at the time of the research, but our single pursuit of truth gave us the transistor. And the transistor gave us semiconductors. Semiconductors that today are the backbone of your phone, your laptop, this camera, all the digital infrastructure we have in the world today. Semiconductors give us silicon chips that power even the rockets and missiles that are used in war. Now, if I were to ask you which companies or which countries benefit the most from the digital economy, the answer is obvious. It's the United States and its allies, because they were the ones who invested in that pursuit. Rich nations do not get rich before investing. They did not get rich before investing in the pursuit of truth. They invested in research before they got rich. So it's not an excuse that, oh, we don't have the money. The pursuit of truth is important, and it requires that we take the bold steps to move forward with it. Now, what separates the pursuit of truth from other forms of value is that it multiplies. When you spend money, you have less of it, right or wrong. When you expend energy, you have to rest to replenish it. But when you spend truth, it multiplies. It unlocks more truth. The world becomes larger. And it's the only asset that behaves this way. Every honest question opens doors that reveal more doors to be opened, giving us an opportunity to pursue more truth. The pursuit of truth is an important step towards understanding the world. Okay. When we pursue truth, we give ourselves an opportunity to know the world around us, to explore further, to break into spaces where we have an opportunity, to break into spaces where we have the opportunity to learn more about the world we live in. So, we know what truth is. We know what it looks like when someone pursues truth. The question that remains is how? How do we pursue truth? An 18th century writer named Isaac Watts spent years trying to answer this question. In his book, The Improvement of the Mind, written in 1741, he tries to set up channels through which ordinary people like you and I can understand, can gain genuine understanding of the world we live in. Not as a curriculum to follow, but as a way of life. The first is observation. Having a direct hand contact with the thing itself. Having a direct hand contact with the thing itself. Not just reading about it, but actually looking at it. Testing what you've read or what you've been told against what you actually find. Isaac Watts knew that borrowed ideas are not the same as tested ones. Borrowed ideas are not the same as tested ones. The second is books. Isaac Watts loved books, not because they were always right, but because books combined centuries of someone's own hard-won understanding and brings it into our lifetime. It's an accumulation of someone else's pursuit of truth and all of the discoveries the person made along the way. But Isaac Watts knew that we do not read books just to absorb information. We read books to interrogate it. We read books to ask questions. Isaac Watts said that if you read a book and you agree with every single thing in that book, you most likely didn't learn anything from it. The third thing he talks about is conversation. Conversation. This is seeking people who are closer to the truth on a subject matter you are interested in than you are. This is not just conversation for the sake of it or idle talk or argument. This is conversation where you go in with an open mind, willing to come out having learned something. A conversation you go into and walk out having something changed in you. The fourth thing Isaac Watts talks about is instruction. In his time, this meant going to lectures from world-renowned scientists or leaders in their fields and intentionally putting yourself under them, trying to understand that specific thing you want to learn. In our world today, it's not just limited to physically going to lectures. We have access to so many resources available online for free. We have lectures from MIT lecturers, Harvard lecturers, all of the big institutions. We have podcasts from industry leaders you can listen to and learn. Now, the fifth thing Isaac Watts talks about is reflection, meditation. This is the one thing that most people just look over, most people pass on. It's not really talked about. Reflection. This is actually sitting with what you've heard, with what you've learned, with what you've observed, with what you've read in the book, and actually thinking on it. Sitting down with all the things that you've studied and thinking about it. Isaac Watts knew that observation without contemplation gives you data and not understanding. If you are just reading and listening to podcasts and reading books, and you are not actually reflecting on all of these things that we've read, I think this is a very common practice for those who go to church, like me, right? You go to church, you listen to the sermon, you write notes, and then it's what, to the next Sunday. Yeah, we don't visit the book again. We don't actually go back to the notes we've taken and actually interrogate it, actually sit down and meditate on it, sit down and reflect on it. What is this person actually talking about? What does this mean? How can I apply this specific thing to my life? This is the fifth channel Isaac Watts talks about in his book. Now, all of the things that humans have learned from the time of our existence, from the time humans came onto this earth, all the way through to now, all the things we've learned, if you put all together, is a very small clearing in a very large forest. It's like a speck of dust compared to the entire body of the planet. What I'm trying to say is that all of the things we know about the world today is a very, very small piece. There's way much more out there to be learned. So for people who are scared that AI is going to take your jobs, AI is trained on what we know today. The data AI is trained on is what humans, the accumulated knowledge of humans from the beginning of the world to now, which I've already described, is a very small portion of what is. There's so much left to be discovered. So there shouldn't be any worry. If anything, artificial intelligence becomes a tool that accelerates how quickly we expand the known into the unknown. So I want to leave you with one question. What are you pursuing? Because many of us are pursuing the symbols of value, the money, the reputation, and all of those things, instead of pursuing the thing that makes all those other forms of value durable. Truth. And truth requires more of us. It requires us to admit when we are wrong. It requires us to exchange ego for accuracy. Where when we falter on something and it's not right, because our goal is the pursuit of truth, we don't let our ego get the best of us. The frontier is still out there. The biggest questions have not yet been answered. The most important ones have not yet even been asked. And I want to tell you that you are the kind of creature to ask them. Thank you.